We're going to do more side folding today. So come and lay on your mat, on your back. So notice now your length. Get a sense of your length from your coccyx, your tailbone, through the spine to the head. And can you see this as a line, an abstract? And then there's the line of the right leg. You can draw a thin line down to the heel, which is like a dot. How long is that line? What about the line of the left leg down from the hip to the heel? In your mind, in your awareness, is one line longer? And come back to the line of your spine, the central line, and bring your arms. You may have to adjust your position on your mat, but can you bring your arms so that they are long overhead? So you're like the letter X. Place the arms where they're comfortable. And if you need a pillow underneath them to make them more comfortable, you can use that. And just slide your head over to the right, the back of your head over to the right, and come back. And do that a number of times. Notice if you slide the back of your head over when you inhale or when you exhale. You might have to lift the head a bit in order to move it, but keep the face up towards the ceiling. Bring the right ear closer to the right shoulder. You can hear your hair sort of swishing over the carpet. And notice if as you move your head over to the right, does one of the lines of your legs change length? Is the line of your left leg drawn into you, or is it moved away from you? Is the line of your right leg drawn into you or pushed away? Does one of your arms shorten or lengthen as you move your head over to the right? Slide the head to the right. Does one of your arms shorten or lengthen? Which one might that be? And bring your arms down and take a rest. And bring the 5 lines back. Actually, we didn't draw the other 2, did we? So you've got the line of your spine, the line of your legs, lines of your legs. Then there's a line across the shoulders that describes the width of the shoulders, and the arms grow out of that horizontal line. We've got the vertical lines of the legs and the spine, and the horizontal line across the shoulders. The lines of the arms. And now if you move your head with your arms resting down by your sides, if you slide your head over to the right again, pay attention to, does one arm move down towards one of the legs? Does the other arm come along the floor? Does one leg move into you? As you slide the head several times over to the right and back and resting as you need to. What part of the line of your spine, where does it begin to bend? Does it begin to bend and fold to the right? Can you feel the right fingertips being pushed along the floor towards your right foot? Or away from you? Leave that. Bring your arms long on the floor again, overhead, and feel the length of the arms, the right side and the left side. And move your head over to the left again. Move now over to the left. Slide the back of your head over to the left. Slide it. Keep the face relating to the ceiling. Slide your head over and listen to, is one of your legs drawn into the body? Is the other leg pushed away somehow? Is one arm pushed away and the other brought more into you? And you can play with these places, with the length of the arms, the length of the legs, as you slide the head. And see if any of these ideas might help the head. Not just help the head, but you feel your entire self like a puppet. All the strings are pulled when one place moves. Not just the one place, but the other lines somehow adapt and adjust. Or pushed or pulled along the floor. Bring your arms down and pause. Feel the length of your arms, the length of the central line from the head to the tail, and the lines of your legs. Sense the line across the shoulders, from right to left. And slide the back of your head over to the left several times and back. And feel if the lines of the arms change their length, or do the lines of the legs change their length? Where does this movement start from? On the way over and on the way back? How do you bring the head back to place? Do the fingertips of your left hand begin to creep downwards as you bring the head over? And what happens to the line across the shoulders? Does it remain in a T in relationship to the line of the spine, or does it tilt to the left? Slide the head. It might be a very, very small difference that you feel, but listen for it. Okay, this is nice. Take a rest. And now sense with your legs long the contact you have with your back on the floor. Sense what areas, what patches rest on the floor and the areas that don't. And then draw up your legs. And notice that when the feet are standing, does your back then flatten out more? Is there a moment where the legs are standing and the back flattens out? Which means that you shortened the back as you brought the legs to standing. Send the legs down and notice if the spine shortens and then lengthens again. And then bring the legs up again. And notice if when the feet are standing, there's more of you, a little more of you on the floor. And now can you send just the right leg down to its full length without disturbing the contact that the back has with the floor? And go so slowly that it's like a thought. And then once the leg is at its full length, can you draw it back to standing? Now, here's the thing. Once the leg is long, pause a moment and begin to draw the right knee out to the side, just a tiny bit, and come back. And let's send the other leg down. Let's send the left leg down. So we're going to have both legs long. And listen to the contact of your back on the floor. And roll the right foot out to the side, the right leg out to the side, and begin to draw the right knee out to the side and begin to draw the right foot towards your right sits bone along the outer edge of the right foot. But do not move any further if you feel the contact of your back change its relationship to the floor. So if you feel that your back shortens, if you feel the line shortening in any way, bring the leg back and start over until you can begin to move the right leg, bend the right knee out to the side, and bring the heel towards the pelvis without any change in the contact of your back with the floor whatsoever. So it's not the what, it's the how. And now pay attention to the direction of the heel relative to the pelvis. It's not that the knee drags the heel on a diagonal to the right. The knee bends and the heel goes in a direct straight line towards the sits bone, and a direct straight line downwards, not out to the side on a diagonal, which means that your leg will be lengthening and bending directly below you as though you were standing. As though you were standing. And the only thing you have to do is not change the relationship of your back. Don't shorten the line of the back. As a matter of fact, can you imagine that the moment you begin to bend the right knee and draw the heel, can you imagine somebody at your head pulling your head and lengthening your spine? pulling your head and lengthening your head away from your feet. And that the line of the back stays long as the leg bends and as the leg lengthens. This can be such a small movement. Okay, good. Rest. Sense the contact of your back, the shoulders and the pelvis and the ribs, the torso. And very, very lightly, begin to bend the left knee out to the side and draw the heel closer to the pelvis. Did you disturb the length of the line, the central line? Did the contact of your back, did it change? Did it leave the floor anywhere? So only draw the heel on the edge of the foot towards the pelvis so quietly that nothing changes in the contact of your spine, your torso, your pelvis, your shoulders. And you can imagine someone holding onto your head and gently pulling away from your pelvis, your head away from your pelvis, that there's a sense that you get longer as you draw the heel. Doesn't matter how far. In a direct line to the sits bone, not out to the side, and directly down. The breath is very quiet. You just feel the air coming over the mouth or in and out of the nostrils. There's no effort and there's no desire. But there's awareness and there's clarity. And the next time your leg is long, sense your length. Sense the length of that side, the length of that line, and the length of the line, the central line, through the body. Can you bring your arms long on the floor overhead, again, without shortening the contact of the body with the floor? So if you lost that connection, go back and start over. You bring your arms to resting long on the floor, as though someone were pulling your head long the whole time, that the moment you begin to move the arms, something in you gets longer. Nothing changes through contact with the floor through the torso, does not change. Now, just bend your left foot. Okay, so we're going to take a long time to do this. Leave your right arm long on the floor overhead. You can bring your left arm down by your side. And pay attention to the line of the spine in contact with the floor. And begin to draw your left heel towards your left sits bone on the outer edge of the foot. Use the edge of your foot like a fulcrum. And draw the heel towards you until you can bring the knee to standing over the foot. But can you do this without shortening anywhere in the back? Which means that the contact of your torso does not lessen its contact. It might even get more into the floor because you're lengthening as you're drawing your foot to standing, your left leg to standing, and your right arm is long. And I'll just pause here for a moment and begin to lift your left hip joint from the floor. Just lift the left hip joint from the floor and notice if you shortened the back. Can you, the moment you have the thought to lift the left hip joint from the floor, can you feel a push through the spine that lengthens you? And it's not until you're done lengthening that then you can begin to lift the hip joint. And then you set it down. So you don't lift your hip joint until the lengthening upwards has stopped and the force has nowhere else to go, because you're keeping pushing, you're still pushing, and so now the force has to move the hip joint. In Tai Chi, we say you don't do the next move until the chi has settled. So the chi, you can imagine the chi is moving up through your spine, and then it's going to reach a place where it stops, and then the movement changes into a different one. So the foot stays standing, and you just push the foot. Well, how do you do this? You push the foot in such a way that you feel yourself grow longer, and you may even feel your right arm pushed along the floor. A little bit, the fingernails lengthening on the floor. And when you've reached the place where there's nowhere else to go but we've gone up, there's nowhere to go but up, but now you've gone up as far as you can and you keep moving, you bring the left hip joint away from the floor. And does it invite your head to slide to the right or to the left? If you feel that length, you lift the hip Where does the head go? The right side of the pelvis stays on the floor. From where do you, how do you lift? The left foot stays on the floor. So the left side of the pelvis, the hip joint comes away from the floor and the pelvis rolls to the right. But usually we're so concerned with pushing and lifting and the pelvis rolling. Can you do this without losing your length through your spine? And you might find that the head can begin to slide over to the left. And then where might it like to look? Where might you like to look with your eyes, with your face? Would you look to the right, or would you let the head look to the left? You could do either. But stay in touch with the length of the central line, that it never shortens. The lines stay long. The right line of the leg, the right line of the arm. This is wonderful. Okay, take a rest. Did you shorten your spine as you brought your legs down? Feel your length, your contact. And when you're ready, begin the same exploratory process on the other side. Bring your left arm long on the floor and be aware of, did you shorten your length as you did that? Place it where it's comfortable. And then so slowly, it's a thought. Do this like it's a thought. Begin to draw your right heel towards your right sits bone along the knife edge of the outside of the right foot without any change in the length or contact of your torso. It does not change. And you can go a little, just keep drawing so slowly, the heel towards you until you can bring the knee over the foot to standing. And notice as you're going so slowly that there are places that skip. They go up, 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 up. It's not a smooth movement. So maybe go back down and stay where there's the gap. It's like a gap in the electrical charge. Can you keep the movement flowing and continuous, that there's no gaps in the movement of the leg coming towards the pelvis? Because according to Moshe, these small gaps are where the body image is not clear. Oh my God. So go really slowly. It doesn't matter how far you bend the knee out to the side. Pay attention to the places where there's gaps and see if you can keep a continuous line, continuous flow of oozing and that there's no change in the contact of the back to the floor. It does not shorten. Maybe it lengthens. There's that person pulling your head, suggesting a greater length in a very, very subtle way. And there's no gaps. Of course, there's going to be gaps, but pay attention to them and see if you can make them a little shorter. Make that place a little clearer until you can bring your foot to standing. And Moshe says it can happen so slowly. It's someone observing you would not realize you were moving. Like those people that used to paint their bodies. Remember those people? I think that was in the 90s. Go out to the town square or the park, and they'd move, and then you'd turn away and they had moved again and you hadn't seen it. They were like a statue, and then you'd look away and you'd look again and they had moved and you hadn't seen them move. I would venture to say those people have really clear body images. So bring your right foot to standing in spite of all the jumps, and bring it to standing. See if you can keep the length of your back, the width of the shoulders, the pressure of the ribs. And the left arm is long on the floor overhead. And then begin the process of lifting the right hip away from the floor and turning the pelvis, but in such a way that you feel this connection from the right foot into the length of the line of the spine, and that you go up, the spine is pushed up into the skull, and then when that process is finished and you're longer, you can begin to lift the right hip. And set it down. So that the lifting of the right hip pushes the left arm longer. And where might your head be invited to look? As long as you don't lose the connection through the back. So as we lift one hip, of course, part of the back is shortening, but the other side is lengthening. So you reach your maximum length, and then you begin to side bend. Then you begin to side bend, and then this head can slide over to the right. And then as you keep lifting the hip and lifting the hip and lifting the hip, more and more body weight is transferred onto the left side. And that side can lengthen in direct opposition to the shortening of the right side. It lengthens. Notice if your knee tilts to the inside, just notice Were you aware that you were doing that? And then make a commitment to not let the knee tilt a couple of times and just feel how that's different. Feel the movement spreading through you. Where does it want to go? Like water in a room. It goes around the corners, goes under the table, it goes to the edges of the room. Water just flows. When it runs into an obstacle, it flows around it. You think of this pressure that's coming from the ground, like water, it flows through your spine, and then when it runs into an obstacle, how is it going to move around it? In a way that's very pleasing, feels very pleasing, that might even elicit a deep breath. Okay, without losing the length of your spine, can you bring your leg down and your arms down? And what is this image, this abstract? The lines of the legs to the heels, and the line from the coccyx through the skull to the top. The line across the shoulder, the lines of the arms. And there's another line we can pay attention to, the line across the back of the pelvis. The place that connects with the floor with the greatest clarity for you. And now if you were to slide your head to the right and come back, what happens with all those lines? At the back of the head, slide to the right. What happens with the right line of the leg and the left line of the leg and the line across the back of the pelvis and the line across the back of the shoulders and the lines of the arms? Can you slide the head? Notice where the image of the lines disappears as you move the head. Where was there a gap? So this is like self-hypnosis, auto-suggestion. You see these lines of your arms and your shoulder, the width of your shoulders, the width of your pelvis, the length of your legs. And you move the head, or you can lengthen one leg or shorten one leg. But notice where there's the break in the lines. Where do you lose the whole image? And keep looking at the image. And then as you move the head to the right, you can slide it to the right, you can slide it to the left, you can lengthen one arm or one leg. Do you become just a line of a leg and an arm, or can you keep filling in the gap in your awareness of the lines? They are abstract. that when one place begins to move just the tiniest bit, the whole image of yourself on the floor changes, like pulling a puppet's strings. It can be such a small movement that you just feel the skin moving over the bones, and the length of the leg along the floor doesn't really change. So like moving inside your own skin. Where do you lose the image? Keep filling it in. Keep filling it in. Leave it and rest. Can you draw both your feet to standing without changing the contact that your back has with the floor? You don't have to draw them together. You could draw them one at a time, but you stick yourself to the floor, and you lightly draw up a leg, and you lightly draw up the other leg. And then let go and feel. Did you lengthen when you let go? It means that you shortened on the way up, but no matter. Push very lightly with the feet till you start to feel that till you feel your whole spine lengthening up towards the head, as though somebody had hold of your head and is pulling it and lengthening your spine. Make that connection. You grow up, you grow long. And now, with your arms down by your sides, reach with your right hand in the direction of your right heel and slide your head over to the right. And did you lose any of the lines? So now we have bent lines. The lines of the thighs and feet are bent. You can still see your stick figure, and come back. And a number of times, reach for your right heel with your right arm, slide your head over to the right. But can you see all the lines moving, or are there gaps? If you were able to animate, if you were an animator and you were drawing a stick figure of a person and you were going to have it fold to the side, and notice where the is, and can you slide the head in a smooth arc and reach? Have you had the intention, but not the desire, big difference, the intention to reach for your right heel with your right fingertips. And you move slowly and without power and without desire, with a clear intention and with awareness of, did you lose your left line of the left arm? What about the line across the width of the pelvis at the back and the line between the right and left shoulders? You can move them in any way that supports your intention. Just see how much you can keep the image of the lines all together. Now the lines move. And where was the gap that time? Where was there a break in the line? So maybe you go slower the next time, or make the movement less, make it smaller, in order to keep in your awareness these abstract lines. If you're coming to standing and you have to go, take your time and notice your length. And those of you that are still with us, stand your feet again. Can you stand your feet without shortening the back? And now slide your head over to the left and reach with your left arm towards your left heel. Just the intention. And with the intention and clarity of thought, can you see the lines moving? Which one? You feel the lines across the shoulders, tilting the line, the dot of the head moving over the floor. The knees, they can tilt to the right. Would that help? Just keep track of them, and then how the line across the back of the pelvis, the line bends in the back. You can lengthen down the right leg and have the left leg standing. Can you do that without losing track of the other lines? That you feel your image of yourself, you're aware of it as you lengthen. Just send the leg down long and bring the right arm long. So you've got a long right side. Got a long right side. Your left foot is standing. Your right leg is long, and your right arm is long overhead. And keeping track of all the lines moving along the floor and away from it. Reach with your left fingertips towards your left heel and let your head slide to the left. Feel the long line of the right arm and the long line of the right leg. Where would you like to look with your face? You can look anywhere. Keep the connection to the coccyx through the head, from the pelvis through the leg, and the shoulder, the line of the shoulders through the arms. So as one arm is lengthening, is the other arm lengthening in the opposite direction? Everything moves in harmony, and no one piece of you is more important than the other. Everybody's equal. It doesn't really matter what the lines do, as long as you can see them, don't lose them. And it can become quite, you can move very, very small movements, but you can Maybe feel this image, the whole image shifting all together, very liquid. And let's take a rest. Obviously, we're not going to grab our ankle today or use a scarf. I thought it would be more useful to work on this, the image of the lines. This is a series that we've been going through in the study group I'm in, and they are so key to what we're doing. And I imagine that you will feel very different when you roll to your side and bring yourself to standing. Can you stay aware of the lines in action as you bring yourself to your side and to standing? And stay with this idea that the lines can be long. The lines can be long. The arms, the torso, and the legs, those lines, you just think it as a thought. The lines, they can be long. As I move and stand, the lines can be long. You don't have to do anything. Let the arms hang. Let the arms hang. They can be long. Gravity does the work. The spine can be long. You don't have to do anything. You just think it. Think of your lines, your arms hanging from the line of your shoulders across the shoulder girdle. The lines of the legs to the heels, and the line from the coccyx to the head. You can move around and keep the feeling, thinking the lines can be long. You can float over the floor. Walking can be weightless with long lines.